So let's play with gesture drawing to begin with. And in my usual classes, what I do is I have students do 5-second gestures. And there's no way those are beautiful drawings. There's no way they can be beautiful drawings. It's all about trying to like turn your brain off and react to what's in front of you. And what I tell them is to think in terms of like cookie cutters, right? Which are like, everybody's used cookie cutter, I assume, like um, just an outline. Really, it's a contour drawing that it's a cookie punch. So what you're seeing is really the silhouette, but in line. And one way to do this is if I use the Caran d'Ache crayons. Normally, too, I work horizontal, and I have the students work across the page when we have a live model, and it's almost like animation. And then to save paper, because we're like burning through paper, I have them use, tell them to get like 3 or 4 different colors, and these are varying degrees of value. So they're varying degrees of value, and so they could like keep working on top of other drawings, but starting with the light, the middle, and the dark, right? So you go progressively darker and you can see them. I'm not going to actually do that here, but I wanted to kind of give you that possibility so that you can save paper if you're doing this from life in a life drawing situation. I'm just going to grab a color. Let's start with blue, maybe. And I'm going to be drawing a lot bigger too, because normally I'd be on my side working about this height. But working large, I can show you a little better. I'm not going to do the 5-second thing, but I am going to show you what I'm talking about is this cookie cutter aspect. So I'm not looking to get necessarily inside the figure right now. I'm working the outside, and I'm not getting, I'm not getting anal with it. I'm not getting, precious. It's like I just want to like feel the shape. Okay, so it may not look good, and that's okay. This is not about beautiful drawings. This is about seeing the cookie cutter. So, all right, let me put this into. So, I mean, real fast, not, no, not getting real fancy, but just to see that, to lock that down. That tells me a lot about the silhouette of this figure. And it's not great. It wasn't intended to be great, right? But I can come in now if I want to and say, okay, well, now I can plug things in, and you'll see how, like, okay, so here's shadow, runs down this way. It pools in the armpit, comes down. There's a cut. Like I made this pretty long, but that's okay. A cut. It comes around that hip. Follows on down there. All right, this connects up here, right? On the hip, down, boom. There's the belly button here, and this comes up. We got the breast, right? And I can bring my shadows in. And I usually don't have students work with value yet. But I'm using this to sort of point out to you that, even with a shape that's not perfect, and this is far from perfect, you can still get quite a lot of information in there, and it took very little time, right? And if you think it really actually took a lot less time because I was explaining stuff. So, and then nose, shadow, eye, shadow. Again, what I'm responding to are shapes, you know? And what you find is that you can get a pretty solid figure down very quickly. And but I'm paying attention to the big stuff. I'm not thinking, okay, oh, I got to draw, here's the way this arm works, you know, and then this comes down and then this cuts over and there's like this little bit of a lip here for the shadow. And then it cuts this way and it comes up a little bit. And, you know, it's like, no, I'm trying to just respond as fast and as efficiently as possible. And again, if it was a 5-second gesture, I mean, this is like a masterpiece compared to a 5-second gesture. It's like you don't have time to do any. I mean, they really are pretty hilarious, but it's cookie cutters, and it's just this is entirely designed to turn your brain off and just respond. Just training your hand to feel what your eye sees. And like if I, yeah, like, okay, so let's say I don't even look at the paper and it's going to be bad, right? But I can see where I'm going to start. Okay. And I'm just going to like, and it's going to look horrible. That's okay. Give yourself permission. I've already lost it. See, I don't know where I am. It's pretty bad, right? I started over here. But it's like, but what you want is to train your hand to feel the subtle changes in the contour of the form. You know, even if like I couldn't connect it because I wasn't looking, right? But that arm and that I feel this, you know, down the leg, down here. I felt all that. Now, whether it's correct or not, that's okay. It's not a big deal. But I need to train this to feel what this is seeing. So, all right, let me rip a sheet off. And we can go to another image. So, same thing. Let me switch colors too, just to break it up. So, and it's okay to look. I'm not going to try and draw the features. I'm going to make this one a little bubblier. I'm not going to worry about the feet yet. So there it is, right? Now I can come in, I can say, well, okay, I'm going to put this in. And so now I have a complete, well, it's okay, you know, aside from the feet. And remember, they're just shapes too. Little ankle there. So I've got a pretty straight up silhouette, right? Now I can come in and plug information in here. I'm not going to get all uptight about drawing hands, but the hand is basically a shape. And then there's a knuckle comes down here, a thumb rather. Those. All right, so now I can add the nose, lips, and I could kind of work a little more of the shape of the head up here. And then there's the ear, right? That's in there. And then here's the sweep of the back coming down. And again, you know, I don't usually go here with students right out of the gate, but I want you to understand what it is that I'm seeing here. So, you know, I've got these shapes, And really, it's like what it boils down to is, you know, see, that's pretty wacky here. This would shape here, right? So I can correct that. But it comes down to how much time do I want to spend on the drawing. I can take it really far, or I can keep it as simple as just here I'm throwing down, you know, simple value. You know, there's that light that cuts in here. This is nice. All the way down the shoulder a little bit. You get the scapula going on here. It's one of the few things I actually know the word. I don't know the names of muscles and all that stuff. But, you know, again, I wasn't super concerned with, am I getting all the proportions correct? Am I like, you know, I just want to get the feeling down. I want the spirit of the pose to come through here. It's all about the spirit. I'm trying to make this stuff come alive. And I mean, not that I can't do it by sitting there and being like, oh, you know, again, I've got to be really careful with, you know, yes, I could do that, but this gets to the heart of it quickly. And then if I need to correct things, I can, you know. Something that Mark English said, you know, and I'll repeat this several times probably through this course, is that I'd rather look at an interesting drawing than a correct drawing. Because, you know, and here you can, like, we could play with the shadows casting over here. That's fun, right? And then this cuts over this way. And because, you know, the whole idea of like getting it all correct all the time is, a camera does that better than we do. I want something that a camera can't do, right? I want it to come alive in a different way. I want a human document. And that means there's mistakes, that means there's foibles, that means that I focus in certain things that nature's indiscriminate. It throws light everywhere. It, like, you know, puts detail everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And my job is I want to see it through my eyes, which means I'm choosing what I think is important to put in this piece, in this drawing, in this sketch, whatever, this gesture, that you become an editor, you know, and you are composing because nature is indiscriminate with this stuff. So let's see. All right, here's another one. Now we'll go with green. So now if I wanted to sit and sort of call attention to the shape of things for you guys, see, I'm holding it more like a pencil now. But here's that head. Right, ear. And in here is these shapes. Right, so it's like seeing how that simple shape is the basis for the more delineated shape. But okay, so now I'm holding it more like a knife again, and I'm not worried. I don't care if it's, you know, Michelangelo stuff here. So I can see I'm already like way out of sync here, because I'm not using a full page and it's throwing me off here. Whoa, okay. And wham, you know, and I didn't put the fingers in, all that stuff. That's extraneous. Those are like little subtle deals that, so I've got my shape. It's not great, you know, you know, and I do usually start with a head. Other people could start with, some people can start with a toe, you know. I mean, I relate everything to the head, personally. So then it's like almost like identifying the core shadow and running it down, you know. But anyway, you get the gesture. And so we do that in my class for quite a while. I mean, we're burning up rainforests, the amount of paper we're burning through. So, but it's and that's these. And I actually didn't demonstrate an actual 5-second gesture, but we fill the pages, man, with 5-second gestures, and they're all cookie cutters, really fast, boom, 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 and they look horrible, and that's okay. And then I say, okay, out of the blue, 10 seconds for the model. And the model's like, okay, on it. And the model is just counting off their own seconds, like 1 through 10, right? And then they shift. But I tell them, okay, now it's 10 seconds. We've been working at a 5-second pace. Now you have twice the amount of time to get your figure down. Because the real trick with the 5-second guys is you have to get the whole figure, meaning, you know, top to bottom. So now you have twice the amount of time, but you still have to draw at a 5-second pace. So you're zooming for twice the amount of time. But that means that now what was like these funky, you know, goofy looking things that a lot of times maybe sort of suggest a human figure because they're working so fast. But now, because you have twice the amount of time, you can begin to be less general, because they start out very generalized. You're like, you know, and it's like, okay, now you're going to be less general. You're going to generalize less about what you're seeing. So we're slowly moving towards specificity, right? But it's still not about detail. It's still not about fingernails or toes. It's big shapes, but you're starting to like try and like be a little bit more sensitive to, you know, if I'll draw here like with the thing, to the subtle changes that are happening in this particular figure. It's unique to every model that gets on the stand, right? And you want to start training yourself to feel those subtle changes. So we're going from, you know, super speed to like not quite super speed. So we can be a little more, you know, specific. And again, they're not going to be perfect, but they're going to be better than they were. At least that's the plan. A little more info. See, I got a little wonky there on that. That's okay. I have permission. So do you. Now I can, you know, normally I'm telling them not to get too much inside the figure, but because I want them to understand. So now here's this hand, right? I'm not going to worry about all the fingers, but I am going to think about that shape. Cutting that a little tight. Let me put that ear bump, come up here. So there we have our gesture. Now, for me too, something that's important is where that, boy, I really hosed this whole thing here. This should be like out here, right? Is the belly button is important for nailing down, you know, that tummy. Breasts. Then I can say, well, this cuts in here, this cuts here, there's that. Everything is a shape. That ear is a shape. That nose is a shape. The eye socket is a shape. The cheek is a shape. The mouth is a shape. You know, if this comes over and tucks in, the cheek becomes a shape. This is really badly done, but you get the idea. And then we have our cast shadow is this really fun shape. We have shape that runs down through here. This cast shadow off the breast, cast shadow under the breast. The fingers casting a shadow over here on the figure. That's fun. This goes into shadow. And this, you can see there's that muscle. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and like put all that together, but you get the idea. And it's like, because I'm doing this, man, you know, and so many people would sit here and go, okay, you know, here's this torso. And what's happening is, I tell my students, every one of these little marks is a brain fart. It's like, you know, you need to feel this thing, and you don't do it. It's not made up of a bunch of little strokes. It's like, it's a beautiful, languorous line that just is so sensual, so organic. Look at that, you know? And that's how you're going to feel this stuff, you know? And how this tucks into that. And you'll see, the more you do this, the more it comes together. Shape, 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 shape. Here's another one. So, and the thing that imprints itself on me too, and one thing, let me grab a little tool here real quick. Yeah, I forgot about this. You could add this to your list if you want to, if you're going to get the crayons. This is a Faber-Castell sharpener. And what's cool about it, it's got for color, I don't know, color grip, universal. It's got a small and a large, and the large is perfect for these crayons. What I like about the crayons is they lose a point quickly. They're blunt, and I use them for layouts and things like that, and this type of thing. But they can get too blunt, where I'm wanting a little more control over the line I'm putting down, and this makes them into a beautiful point. Okay, so again, the thing that I see, if I was going to say what was the things that are making this pose interesting to me, is this the arm here, that swoop, and then the way that leg does this, and the way this leg kicks here, the way that arm does this, right? But I mean, that's like if I'm just thinking, and also the cant of the head. But it's like, but those don't mean anything to me in the same way that, you know, I mean, I catch that stuff. Again, it's that idea like of the landmark thing. But what really hits me is how all that stuff works together. And this cuts down the hip, the leg, that thing canting off, right? And then back up that leg. And the foot kind of cutting in. And then here's our hip. That hand comes down. This tucks. Got the breast, the arm, shoulder, arm, hand, beautiful hand. Right? And it's the way all of this works together. This against this, you know, that is the stuff that just makes me like, just want to draw this stuff. You know, it's like that's exciting. It's sensual and organic and, you know, all that stuff. And then here we got this arm goes like this. The head. Right? And I mean, you know, again, hey, it's not perfect. It wasn't intended to be perfect. I'm not taking that kind of care. I'm just wanting to like, and this can come down a little more too, which will make it even cooler. Yeah. I just want to get the jolt, get the charge out of this pose, you know? I can do other drawings of it that are all about the refinement and the finesse and all that stuff. But I want to, just have fun drawing, really. I mean, and then later, if I'm that motivated that I want to do some kind of finished thing with this, then I'll go there. I'll make that choice and make that effort. But I want to understand the pose better, and I want to like get it down. I want to react. So then we shift to a whole different body type, which is cool because they all offer something unique and demand that you all of a sudden you put on a different head here and think in other kinds of volume. But here's that head. I'm going to draw through the form on this one because I'm not going to worry about that hand. It's a shape. Made the arm too thin. Come in here. Now I can add that. There's that hand. Same thing. Like, okay, this now I can play with how this stuff works, right? How that cuts in. Here's the belly button. Depending on how far I want to take it. But the beauty of this too, for me, is how direct I'm getting, how I'm diving right in, I'm getting right to the point, and I'm making tracks, I'm actually getting things done here. And then if I didn't do the feet, but like here it's a shape. Right? And this one cuts. There's that ankle. This does this. This goes here. Toe. Right? So, and then of course, okay, do I want to get invested in the head, and then there's the socket. The lip sort of sticks out a little bit. The hair. Right? And it's just like what happens the more you do of this, the more you become sensitive to what's important about these poses, and then so you'll see when we go to the pastels how we sort of, and the shadow play here, this is cool stuff. Look at that. And it tells us a lot about that form, big time. So if I was to kind of shade this, grouping those shadows, that shape welding stuff. And then this cuts over and it's like, and there is a core shadow that works its way through here, and then this shadow here cuts way over and up. This is all in shadow. His face is mostly in shadow. We get the chin down here lit, but this well of shadow, which allows that to pop, right? That hair's dark. socket. Hand has shadow cast from the head, you know? And again, it's like, then I can, this all goes into shadow. That I'm not going to draw every finger because I just don't care. And you can get a really reasonable facsimile of this figure, just getting to it. It's like, I find that so many people sit there and they noodle and they're trying to fix a line. They're trying to oh no, that's not it. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to do another. And it's like, look, I don't believe there's the perfect line. I think there's a line, and that line informs the next line, which informs the next line, which informs the next line. And the more you do of this direct drawing, and just give yourself permission to just say, look, okay, I'm going to put a line down like I mean it. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to commit to the line I'm drawing now. And whatever hits, that's the one. That's absolutely what I intended to do, because you did it. Live with it, right? Because if you sit and correct it, you're missing the opportunity to actually see in the totality of the drawing how it actually doesn't work, right? But if all you do is what my friend Scott Hampton calls polishing a turd, it's like you're erasing all the things that you need to see in order to understand how you screwed it up. So live with it, roll with it, let it be. Yeah, James Martin said he did that with this girl in class one day. She was like, I don't understand, what do you think about this drawing I'm doing? Whenever, and he comes up and he goes, let it be. Let it be, let it be. Let it be. He starts doing the Beatles on her, But it's true. It's like, let it be, move on, learn from it, move on. The next drawing will be better. The next one will be better. The one after that will be even better, but you've got to put it down like you actually mean it, because now you're committing. You don't look at, Michelangelo and Watteau and Rembrandt and, and they're not pussyfooting around. They're not like, I got to set it up first. I'm going to set it all up, and then I'm going to commit. Oh no, that's not it. I'm going to erase that. No. Gustav Klimt pencil drawings, man, boom, he's not farting around. He has a line, it's down. Egon Schiele, boom, the king of that, right? Just put it down. And you're going to learn so much more about proportion, about line quality, line weight, emotional, expressive line work, if you do this instead of fixing, okay? See what we got here. So this is like just a big mass, right? Which is beautiful. It's like, it's so simple. And it's rare, honestly, to get a model like this. These are, this is a joy, because everybody always gets, the idealized version of what people think is beautiful. And it's like, man, this is the stuff, because this is really real life, and it is beautiful. It's a whole different kind of beautiful. It's like, man, the shapes are just awesome, and thank God we don't all look the same. That would be so friggin' boring. Love that hair. Look at that. You can just go nuts with this hair. And then we're going to come down, right? And then now I can get inside the figure now. This actually cuts a little further down. We're in. This cuts. I'm not messing with the hands, but let's add them now. See, that's a shape. Right? That's the shape. This one is, if I'm going to be a little more subtle about it, that's kind of the shape, right? what I'm doing is connecting the tips of the fingers here. So I can see, and then this, I came in, I was a little wide on the ankle. Foot, right? And then there's that cut, which is awesome, which helps do the pull. Which helps do the pull there. And so what's fun too, looking at the value structure of this, what's really cool about it, let me put in, so now I'm going to come in. There's that. That big nose, okay. And then the ear, shadow. What's cool about that, the way it's set up here, let's use the blue, is you have shadow, shadow. This goes into shadow. This all comes in down. It's like a slow burn into shadow. So it gets, and it's like this interesting value thing. Down deep, down deep. And this brings it all down, And then we have shadow, shadow. And this all, there's some in here. That hair is awesome. It's the capper, right? And then shadow inside this arm. Here's I'm not drawing very well there, but the thumb, this carries over this way. Fun stuff, okay. So hopefully, let's see what we got here. I mean, we can continue, but it's like I think that you sort of get the idea of this cookie cutters, and that we're looking at silhouettes. And see, man, it's one of my favorite parts is how this and this tuck into each other. So cool there. And it's so organic. This actually comes further out, but all right. Then we come down here, we can add this now. Whoa. Right? And man, what makes this too is this cut of shadow, wham, off that. And then this helps define that breast. And then we've got core shadow. All the way down. And it does that same sort of thing as you get down. One thing about figures, anything, trees, branches, twigs, fingers, toes, they all taper. They don't get fatter. That's about as simple as you can get right there. And yeah, I didn't put in like the well of the other eye here. That's fun. The way that cuts up, the hair falling down, the lip, the mouth, the nose, right? These are the building blocks of picture making, the simplest building blocks, and they're most important, and it's not just the figure. I mean, we're playing with the figure, and the figure is a gesture and all that, but you start getting into any object. Like I'm looking through here, but that's a really bad version of it, but everything is a shape. There's the tape over there. The paper towels and the way they're working here, and then the shadow in there. I mean, every single thing is a shape, and you just want to you've got to train your eye and become sensitive to the shapes. Forget that it was a nose, that was a head. It's a giant shape but it's hair and it's a head all in one, right? And then see, I didn't even draw the line of the back, but it's in there. It's just, which actually goes to something I should throw out, is squinting. Squinting is the ultimate equalizer. What it does in really squinting, I'll tell people, hey, squint at it, and they go, it's not squinting, right? Squint, close your eyes, and what you're doing is you're limiting the light, you're bringing values closer together, and it also simplifies even colors. What it's doing is bringing values closer together. It's creating so you can see that shape welding. It's grouping, it's simplifying because there's less light. And you can do that kind of thing with, Photoshop and whatever. You can start doing that and even blurring things a little bit, and you'll see they become shapes. You don't see the detail anymore, and that's important. So I tell people, and squint a lot. And it can become really tiring. Like you'll walk off. There's times when I'm painting, I'm doing so much squinting that I'm bumping into furniture and stuff at the end of the day. I'm just like, oh my God, So, but, and there's ribs in here too. But so the reason I brought up the squinting is like when I squint, all of that becomes one big shape. All of a sudden, the backbone is not important because it's not going to be seen. It becomes this. It's this shape, not that shape, right? That's two different things going on. But really, I squint, it's one big thing. And that's what you're after. You're looking to simplify the way you see figures, the world, okay? So let me think. Yeah, I mean, I could go on, but I don't know if it's needed. It's, again, if you get a shape, if you make an interesting shape, then you can plug things in, and it's like, okay, so let's just say this one. This will be the last one we do. But like, let's say I wanted to distort this thing. So, and I'm not going to like try and do it, where I'm actually analyzing things, but I want things to be longer, and I'm going to make the leg way, so I'm not going to get the whole figure in here, and I'm going to make things thinner. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to really go for the gold here. Look how thin this is. Wow, I'm really making her thin. And I'm just looking to make a fun shape. And that's going to have to go away, right? Okay, we come up, we come over, we have this. All right. So now I can sit here and plug in. I can plug the detail stuff in, how things connect, and effectively have like sort of messed with reality here. I can make her head up here. This cuts down, that cuts over. This arm's going to come way down here now, right? Because I'm making everything longer. Then we've got our core shadow. We've got a cast and then the core. You know? And you can stretch, you can like make things wider, whatever. But if you get a fun shape and you get the shape right, you plug the elements in, and you can, and even by that, you know, like let me see if we got a head in here. Let's see, which we do, of course. But let's see. So here's more of a head, and you know, like so we have a head, right? And if you just play with shape, okay, there's her hair, you know, but I want to have fun, so I'm going to give her a bigger nose. That's okay. It's a totally outrageous nose, and the mouth is really big, you know. But I want to give her really little eyes, you know. But it's like it can work because the shape of the head is all there. It's like, and what I plug in, and then I can even go, you know, like, hey, let's bring this realist sort of stuff in here, the way it's lit, that works. And then this goes into a shadow, that little eye, you know. This all, if I squint, this all goes into shadow, right? And the hair becomes also part of that shadow. It's shape welding, boom. All this hair, you know, and what's fun is then she's got that part. But that's it. It's like you start playing with shape and all of a sudden, man, your world becomes a whole bigger world of cool possibilities, where you can just plug elements in and have fun. And like all of a sudden you're, you know, one eye higher than the other, one bigger, smaller, whatever. And things, all of a sudden, the world, you know, things start to make sense, but it's all built off that shape, right? Okay. So now let's, so I think that's pretty good with gesture. It's like, you know, I'm not getting you involved in this idea because I know you've read a million books about it. You've had teachers pushing it. This, you know, watch out for, get that center line, get that sweep. And it's like, yeah, and that is a real thing and that's there. But it's like at some point, you know it's there, right? You know it's there. So move on, you know. Definitely, you're not going to forget it. It's there. You definitely, I see this, right? But do I have to draw it every friggin' time? Really? You know, do I really? Can't I just intellectually know it's there and build off of that right out of the gate? That's what I'm after. I want to get to the fun business of drawing and not and I'm not knocking the constructive anatomy and all that stuff that everyone does. I just wasn't taught that way. My teachers were like, there it is, draw it. Shoot or get off the pot, draw, there it is, go. Make it happen, right? It doesn't mean that we didn't know that was there, but it's like, I want to get to the fun stuff. I want to do the fun stuff, which is draw. You know, I want to really draw and emote and like get expressive and try and get this figure to live and breathe and dance on the page, right? I want the people that look at the drawings to believe this thing is alive, even though it's obvious it's a drawing. You know, that's what's that old joke, you know? That doesn't look like a woman. It's like, right, because it's not. It's a drawing of a woman, right? So, you know, it's like, man,